There was even talk about, too much romance. But it was not just with young men. It was with young people.
Could the election of Donald Trump have single-handedly ended racism? Not completely bring it to an end, but show signs that racism could become a thing of the past in this country.
Not just with young men. It was with young people. With young people.
In this country. He had the supporters of black men. He had the supporters of black women.
President-elect Donald Trump and Vice President Kamala Harris repeatedly made direct appeals to African Americans.
Something that is critically important is to see black folks, and in particular black men, as a whole human being.
Across the country on Election Day, Harris received almost the same amount of support from black voters as President Biden did in 2020. But NBC News exit polls show that Trump made some inroads, gaining ground among black voters.
We want a safe and secure country to raise families in, and that starts at the southern border. We want lower inflation to be able to buy our first home and even just go out and get groceries.
The cost of food, something definitely Gen Zers and millennials know about because most of these kids are in college. Groceries are expensive. I bought 2 apples the other day. It was $2. You could buy a sandwich at McDonald's back in the days for $1. Apples for $2. So basically 1 apple was $1. That is inflation, guys. So somebody like myself started growing his own food. Like literally, I grow my own veggies now. I grow my own tomatoes now. I grow my own peppers now. You know, I gotta feed myself. I got 2 kids. I gotta feed my dogs. I gotta feed.
Container for water. Because the water bowl.
And I got 4 dogs. The price of food is not cheap, right?
On the shelf. Those ones we already made.
Using my land to grow and start in agriculture, it's become very important. Because if you really think about it, if you could grow it, why buy it? And if you could grow it, you could actually gift it to other people. So all these you're seeing with these green tomatoes and the red ones, but of course I gotta water them, so the water bill is gonna be up also. So, and that is the problem.
President-elect Trump did well with women. How did he do that? What do you say to that?
Yeah, I think what both of these gentlemen spoke to is the fact that there's been a realignment with the Republican Party and a realignment with the country. The 2016 Trump turned the party into really a working class, more white coalition. But now we're seeing it is a multi-ethnic, multiracial, working class populist movement. And I think that, of course, that includes women, that includes Black Americans, Hispanics, across the gambit. But I think part of the reason Trump did so well with women is, of course, the economy.
And you see why more people are voting for Trump. Food prices, big deal. Inflation, big deal. Gas prices, big deal. Millennials don't have the money for all this.
I got out and voted for him for in historic numbers because we want 4 more years of promises made, promises kept. We want no new wars that we'd be drafted to serve on the front lines in. We're looking forward to some of these Trump policies implementing things like tax cut proposals with no tax on tips, no tax on overtime. President Trump won this election, to your point, because of Gen Z. And I think when inaugurated, he will be a president for Gen Z.
Actually, he won the support of black women under the age of 30. 29 and under voted for Donald Trump. Maybe the ones who are a little bit older voted for Kamala, but the fact that Gen Zers are voting for Trump. Gen Zers, when it comes to black male, also voted for Trump. Under the age of 44, went for Trump. Black males.
There's been a realignment with the Republican Party and a realignment with the country.
Black men and black women could rally around somebody like Donald Trump, who has been called all sort of names. We're supposed to believe he's a racist, fascist, Hitler. I mean, they've said so many things about this guy, right? And the media was not able to get folks to believe that because, you know, this generation definitely do show that they have a mind of their own.
It's a group of voters that was the focus of both presidential campaigns.
I love the black population of this country. I've done so much for the black population of this country.
From visits to black churches to specific policy proposals.
Particular black men as a whole human being.
Across the country on Election Day, Harris received almost the same amount of support from black voters as President Biden did in 2020. But NBC News exit polls show that Trump made some inroads, gaining ground among black voters in North Carolina and more than doubling his support from black voters in Wisconsin.
Is it easier to wear that hat here now than it was before?
It is. It absolutely is.
In Milwaukee, we met 26-year-old small business owner Giovanni Jefferson, who says Trump's message on the economy and immigration stood out to him.
The extra money in my pocket aside, I think what is most important is getting that southern border closed down.
In your judgment, are voter ID laws racist? Professor Tolson.
Thank you for that question. So it depends. One thing we have to stop doing is treating all voter ID laws as the same.
Okay, so your answer, I want to move quickly, so it depends is your answer?
Yes, that's my answer.
Okay, so what voter ID laws are racist?
Apologies, Mr. Cruz, your state of Texas, perhaps?
Okay, so you think the entire state of Texas is racist. What about requiring an ID to vote is racist?
So I think, sir, that's pretty reductive. I'm not saying the entire state of Texas is racist.
You just said my state of Texas, so you tell me, what about the Texas voter ID laws is racist?
So the fact that the voter ID law was put into place to diminish the political power of Latinos with racist intent and had been found to have
You're
racist
asserting
intent,
that. What's your evidence for that?
The federal district court that first resolved the constitutionality of Texas's voter ID law.
Okay, so your view is voter ID laws are racist. How about you, Mr. Yang?
I agree with Professor Tolson. Voter ID laws can be racist.
Okay, that's two. Mr. Science?
There are some voter ID laws that are racially discriminatory in intent.
How about in practice? In intent, fine, you say there's some racist with a malevolent intent lurking in the back of their mind. But let's just talk about it as a practical matter. When I go to vote, they ask me for my ID. I pull out my ID, I show it to them, I vote. Is that racist?
If the law that requires you to do that was motivated by racially discriminatory intent
what about the
under
effect?
our
Set
Constitution.
aside intent. Set aside intent. I'm asking about the effect.
Yes.
In states like Connecticut, the chairman's home state, they have higher black voter turnout rates than states like Connecticut. They have a lower gap between black and white turnout than in states like Senator Blumenthal's Connecticut. And in fact, states like Georgia and Mississippi, African Americans vote at a higher rate than white voters, and in Texas, they're basically equal. One of the sad realities of today's Democratic Party is they define race as follows. If you're a Democrat, you qualify. So under the Democratic view, I'm not Hispanic. Senator Padilla is. If you're a Democrat, you're an Hispanic. My abuelo and abuela would be very surprised to discover I wasn't Hispanic. But that's how Democrat views it. That's how the radicals in the civil rights division view it. And I will point out as an example, this committee, one federal district judge in the state of Texas, Jason Pulliam, is an African-American judge nominated by President Trump, sat at this table, presented superbly. The Democrats had no criticism, and every single Democrat on this committee voted against him. Why? Because they perceived him as a black Republican. He didn't qualify as a black man. And I actually asked, as the Democrats were voting against Judge Pulliam, do you have one basis to vote against him? Anything you disagree with? None of them had any single answer at all. This hearing's about one thing. It's about power, and it's about ensuring Democrats stay in power. That's cynical, and it's at the expense of democracy and the right of voters to express their will through free and fair elections.
Gen Zers, millennials, they all have demonstrated to not be sheeps who are just told to go in one direction and they follow. It's a rebellious spirit. Being rebellious is not always a good thing, but that rebellious spirit is a very strong spirit, positive or negative. You're going against the status quo. We're all supposed to believe racism exists, even when we don't feel like somebody's being racist towards us. But we are made to believe that we are less than somebody else who looks different from us. We are made to believe that somebody who is in a position of power or has more money than us or is more financially stable than us is a racist. ignoring the fact that that person worked very hard to get to the position that they are currently in. Every 4 years, it seemed like the Democrats rally around, come back around, remind you the party you belong to, and demand that you vote according to your party line. Democrat. I never chose to be Democrat. I don't know how I became Democrat, but I'm a registered Democrat. I guess when I didn't know any better, when I was young and dumb, they got me. But moving forward, I'm a black Republican. This is something you all are going to start seeing very soon, a lot more young black Republicans, because we're not falling for the lie anymore. We have a mind of our own. We're thinkers. We're educated. The web has so much information. People don't even watch the news anymore. That is like the sad part. So when you see the media, something like CNN, MSNBC, CBS, Fox News is actually very funny to me because they seem to speak the truth, which is basically telling you as it is, whether you like it or not. They're not trying to sound politically correct. They're not trying to please everyone. They're just telling you as it is. That is why I tend to lean towards Fox News. That is actually comedy to me, just watching it. So like I was saying, Trump seemed to be single-handedly eliminating racism in America, just the election of him, because he did not have to do anything. But for people from all walks of life to be able to rally around one person, it sends a strong message. We're able to look at him, even though I'm a black man and he's a white man, I don't consider him to be a racist. And trust me, there are a lot more white men like Donald Trump who are not racist. Just because they look different from me does not mean they are racist. And I am a black guy born in Nigeria, so I'm a Nigerian American. But even though I'm considered an African American, but I'm a Nigerian American. But I'm a U.S. citizen. I have an American passport, but I was not born here. I was born in Nigeria. So just like a lot of people here in America, a lot of us are immigrants, and you come to America, racism was not really a thing to me when I first came here, but for my first 10 years, I was made to believe people were racist, especially when you focus on, a lot of times when you focus on something, that is what you're going to get. So if you're trying to see racism, you're going to see racism. If you're trying to see things for what they really are, then you will see them for what they really are. So with that said, the far left and the far right have people from both sides voting for Trump or voted for Trump. Black men, black women voted for Trump. Well, it's kind of hard to teach an old dog new trick. That's what they say. You can't teach an old dog new trick, right? So you should teach them while they're young. So the fact that Trump is able to get the young voters, the Gen Zers and the millennials, that is good, because guess what? These young people are the people giving birth. And these are the people who are going to give birth to the kids who are going to be future leaders, right? So whatever the parents of these kids are passing on to this generation coming underneath them, that is what the future would hold. So whatever they learn from their parents is what they're going to move forward with. And if their parents, who are Gen Zers and millennials, are willing to vote for Trump and don't see him as a racist, despite the picture the media is trying to paint, that means these same ideas would be passed on to the next generation. And you can see how the stigma of racism could be slowly erased, or not as significant as it has been in the past. So that is why I believe the election of Donald Trump seems to be reducing the difference we see in each other. I'm not really sure if that's how I want to say that, but the election of Trump make us look at each other as equal. Okay, a white guy could look at a black person and not feel like okay, I'm better than him. The black person could look at the white person and not feel like he's better than the white person. And they all know, despite we look different, we are the same. Okay? Yes. So that's just what it is, guys. I think the country is heading in the right direction just from the election of Donald Trump. He's not in office yet. I could feel the positivity in the air. And let's see what the next 4 years hold. But till then, if you feel like there's something different that I did not mention in this video, feel free to point it out in the comment section. But like I said, the election of Trump is doing a lot of things, a lot of good, positive energy in the air, even though you have those people who are upset as well. But I think we're heading in the right direction. The fact that you have young people voting for him, and if these young people voted for Trump, white, black, Spanish, everyone, every race, nationality, voted for Trump. He won it all. That is to show you we could look at a white person, a white male, and not consider him to be racist. Right? I think that's a start. That's a start. So, Trump, more powers to you. Just you being who you are bringing people and neutralizing those race boundaries or those race stigma or the racist stigma that this country once had. So, yes, to those who still consider Trump a racist, come on, just go look at the numbers, guys. If everybody cannot be lying, everybody cannot be dumb, you know. So if you think he's a racist and he won the election, look at the amount of millennials and Gen Zers that voted for him. That is because they're not falling for the lie that the media is propagating or spreading to everyone. Yep. If you like the video, share with your friends and family members, and come back. If you're not subscribed to the channel, make sure you do so, and check out all the other cool content I got here. Yes, thank you for watching. Bye.
That's the first thing on day one. Start deportations of what? Known illegal migrant criminals?
Absolutely. So this administration is not doing it. This administration claimed, they told ICE, you're only going to deport those convicted of the most serious crimes. However, you look at the numbers compared to the Trump administration, the removal of criminal aliens by this administration is down 74%.
Well, Texas Public Safety Lieutenant Chris Olivares joins me now. Lieutenant, criminals will be deported first, right? Let's confirm that. They're out first.
Exactly. That should be the priority. That is the priority right now, at least from what we know, moving forward, going into the new year, is to prioritize removing criminals that have violent criminal backgrounds, that have orders of removal. Those should be prioritized to be removed before anything else. And of course, those are the public safety and national security threats, as Tom Homan just laid out right there. That should have been the priority with this current administration, is to remove those threats. But unfortunately, as he mentioned also, we have seen just a very low number of removals as far as criminals in the past 4 years. So that's why we need this change. We need to remove those that will cause or do pose a significant threat to public safety and national security. So we are definitely, in support of that as far as here in Texas. And we're happy to see that we're going to have some change in leadership moving forward that's actually going to address those type of threats.
But do you know where they are? The criminal illegal. Do you know where they are? And are you going to have to rely on ICE to go get them?
Exactly, Stuart. It's not going to be an easy task. It's not going to happen from one day to the next. The thing is, a lot of these criminals, you're not going to find them, right? It's going to take some time. It's going to be very tedious. That's why it's very important that a lot of these states and cities cooperate with ICE, cooperate with the new administration, especially when you take some of these individuals to jail and place detainers on them for ICE. It's a lot easier for ICE to remove these individuals once they're in jail. Now, when they're not in jail, it's a much more dangerous environment now for ICE. Now it's more tedious for them to look for these individuals and have them removed. That's why we need this cooperation from everyone. Of course, in Texas, Tom Homan, the new administration, will have a great ally in Texas with Governor Abbott. We are doing it right now. We are trying to locate some of these criminals, some of these gangs that have committed crimes in Texas, arrest them,